Hi folks, today I've got a Fenix or Phoenix, however you pronounce it, LR40R to show you and have a look. It comes nicely and substantially packed. High performance rechargeable ultra compact searching flashlight including a battery pack, 12,000 lumens, 773 meters throw. We've got the manual in there, some spare O-rings, warranty card, lanyard, and get rid of that box. Then a pretty decent, well made, substantial holster that you can either connect via whatever you would call one of those things, I don't know, and a Velcro clip, and it fits in there rather nicely and securely. So a pretty decent holster. Jump into the light and get into the good part. We've got kind of this dual purpose arrangement. We've got the outer ring of LEDs there, which are going to give us a kind of floody effect, and we've got the inner smooth reflector to give us a throwing light as well. I'm only aware of one other torch that kind of adopts that similar principle, which is the Olight Marauder 2. On my next video, or perhaps the next but one, I will be comparing these two lights and telling you what I think of them both together. But for now, let's just concentrate on the LR40. Operation wise, really simple. Got a battery indicator there to tell us how much juice we've got left, and two buttons. One's for the flood and one is for the throw. So what slightly long click turns us on, and we cycle through our modes, noticeably including turbo. There's no double click to take us to turbo. Turbo is just part of the single click grouping, and a long clicky takes us off. Same with the battery indicator there. Same with the floodlight, sorry, not the floodlight, the throwy beam, cycle through. And here's the good bit, we can have both, and we can change the output of both, so we can have less on the throw, sorry, less on the flood and more on the throw. That's blooming bright, that is. The camera isn't picking that up properly, but hopefully you get the gist. So you can have whatever arrangement or configuration you want by mucking about, and this is what I've been doing. I've been taking it out and, do I want more flood, do I want more throw, or am I happy with just one on its own and not the other, and so forth. And you kind of get used to those two buttons there. We've got the strobe and the beacon and a lockout mode as well included within that, or as usual, just a little bit of a turn there will lock out the light. We'll jump to the manual in a moment. Let's open up and have a look and see what we've got in there, which is a Fenix battery pack, which is basically for 18650s, and it mentions there with built-in protection circuit. I checked with the manufacturer. The over discharge and overcharge protection is provided by the battery pack. It isn't inbuilt into the light. So with that in mind, the manual does, and I'll show you, the manual does go on to say that you can use alternative 18650 batteries if you like, which you can. You can put just one in there if you want and it will run, or you can use 2, 3 or 4. Because the light doesn't have the protection built in, I wouldn't recommend using unprotected cells. Rather go for your protected. And on the subject of protected, one of the problems that I found with using protected cells in high powered flashlights is the blooming things keep on tripping out. That doesn't happen with the Fenix. I mean, you've got to use a decent quality battery, of course. I think these are LG, but they're not particularly high drain. I've got some high drain, well, high drain for protected cells there, keep powers. But these algae are not known for their high drain performance, if I can get it right. I expected them to trip, and they didn't, so I was really pleased with that, and that I'm not kind of overly restricted then what type of protected cell I put in it. And at a push you can use unprotected, subject to the the kind of the warning that I've just given you. In the manual, though, it does say that if we're using third-party batteries, anything other than the provided battery pack, which you can buy spares of those, you can't get turbo. And I guess that's the manufacturer's way of just kind of enforcing a little bit of caution on us, and perhaps stopping people from putting any old battery in it and then ringing up to complain to say that something's gone wrong, or you know where it goes. So jumping back to the provided battery pack, and I think this little middle connection there, this is how the light knows, I think, as to whether you're using their battery pack or alternative batteries, because we've got that kind of fifth connection. I don't know that for certain, I'm guessing that. And lastly, USB-C charging with a power bank function as well. So my initial impressions were great, because I really do like this design of light, and I am aware of only the Olight Marauder having this principle or concept. Let's have a quick look at the manual before we take it out and have a look after dark. So there's quite a lot here to have a look at, most of which I've just kind of covered. These basics here, you can kind of pause that and have a look if you want. The cover, and then how the light operates, which we've covered again. Let's have a look at the outputs. So on the spotlight mode, high 1000, medium 350, low 150, eco 50. 7 hours runtime there on high if we want it. On the floodlight, turbo 11,000, two highs 6,000 and 3,000, medium 1,000, low 350. Turbo runtime 45 minutes. It won't hold turbo 11,000 for 45 minutes constantly, by the way. Battery specifications. The recommended there is their own pack with rechargeable battery 18650 with a little caution thing there. We then go on to tell us about why there's a caution. A little bit there on the... I'll come back to these turbo times as well in a moment. I'll show you them. 2 minutes and 5 minutes for your turbo or high, with the temperature regulation as we'd expect to start to step down the light with our low voltage warnings. This is a little bit, I'm just trying to find it now. Where did it put it? Usage and maintenance. Yeah, 1 to 4, just here, look. 1 to 4 rechargeable batteries can be used, but turbo may not be selected. Okay, I think that's just about everything. Other than, sorry, just jumping back there. Drop resistant and waterproof. Okay. I think that's everything we need. Let's take it out and have a look. Hey folks, let me put a picture where I am first. And we've got the LR40 on its lowest mode, and cycle up. 3 max. That's blooming bright, isn't it? And I think that tree here, that's got to be the shiniest tree going. So let's go through it again. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me just go back to level 4 again. Let me get it right. That's your 6400 lumen setting that I was talking about, with the hard-coded 5-minute step down. But it's not getting particularly hot, and you can just re-engage it again. So it's going to run forever and ever and ever. Sorry, keep on hearing things creeping around in the night, you know, it's ever so disconcerting. Sorry, yes, where was I? Yeah, so the 6400 lumen setting, that's just going to go on and on and on. If the 5-minute step down kicks in, just re-engage it again. And then if you need it, your maximum. And that is very, very impressive. I hope you'll agree. Move a bit closer. Scroll through again. I mean, that is just bouncing back at me now. I'm sure the camera's absolutely loving that. And then max. And a long press for off. Jump to the other mode. A long press for on. Same again, we've got our modes. No turbo on this. So there's our highest. And as we can see, there's plenty of peripheral spill, isn't there, for us to work with. So we've got like that traditional lens in there, if that's the right word, is giving us a really decent little thrower as well, even on the low modes. Although I'm not sure what you'd want to use the low modes for. All the way down, as far as we can see down there. And we can have both on if we like. And you can change the power level, so I can go the lowest on my flood and the highest on my thrower, and kind of create a hybrid type of beam now, because we've got a little bit of both on there. I can up the flood up a little bit if I want. And this is what I found myself doing with this light, you know, just can't help but muck about with these two buttons, you know, to decide which way round or how I want it. I have endless fun messing around with that. It's probably not necessary though, is it, to be sensible? You're probably using the, you know, the very nice throwy type beam with a nice spill. Turn off, long press for off, or one of the more floody modes. And for me, for walking around here, this type of thing, the 6400 mode I particularly like. Let's go to a different spot and have another look. So a little bit further on, I'll put a picture where I am. And I've started off with the 6400 mode. So that's the one subject to the 5-minute step down. It'll just run and run and run. If it does step down, just turn it back on again. Moving down the side of this lake. I mean, that is blooming bright, isn't it? And then of course we can go up one as well if we want. And that's just monstrous, isn't it? Scroll through a bit more, and of course, in fact, now we turn it off. There we go. Go for our spot. Plenty of nice spill in the area here, isn't there? And gonna have a look down the side of this lake. Just going and going and going. And if we like, if you really, really like, you can go and put both on. I mean, that's just ludicrous, isn't it? My God. You know, just everything. It's obviously going to have an impact on your, just get myself back here. When you're running both at the same time, particularly on the higher power modes. Oh, I wasn't even on turbo then, was I? There we go. Show you again. That was a 6400 then I was on. That's your turbo. Even more ridiculous. It is going to impact your run times though when you're running both. Like that. But a beast of a light, folks. And I'll catch you soon. I won't bore you with the normal lux meter and timer and all the palaver that you've seen me doing it before. I'll summarise the results of what I found and put them here, which we're looking at. Let me just quickly explain what I found. So this was the lux meter reading. This is not a measure of the output of the light, it's a comparative figure that gives us an indication of how long a light is holding a particular output. And what I found with the LR40, right from the get-go, there was a very slow but gradual diminishing of the power. There was no attempt to hold that output right from the start. And kind of after 1 minute, we can see it's kind of backed off. 1.5 to 2 minutes, it backed off again. And that's consistent with what it tells us in the manual. But it wasn't a case of kind of holding the maximum output for 2 minutes and then a sudden drop. It was a very slow and gradual stop, as I mentioned, from the get-go. Towards 3 minutes, we then got down towards the 250 level on the lux meter, and that was at the level 4, so 6,000 lumens. And what I found then was that the light held that level 4, 6,000 lumens for as long as I wanted it to, subject to the 5 minute timed step down. And if you wanted a bit longer on the 5 minute timed step down, you just simply press re-engage and back up again. Now I'll just quickly mention the Marauder. I've got a comparison video of those two coming up at the moment. Let me just quickly now compare the LR40 to the M2 Marauder, because these two are like chalk and cheese. So we just had a quick look there at the L40, didn't attempt to hold the maximum output and very slowly backed off, and I felt this helped greatly towards maintaining that level 4 thereafter, because it just hadn't got too hot. Whereas the M2 Marauder behaved completely differently. It really did hold that turbo power initially, got quite hot, or very hot actually, and I kind of felt as though it blew its wad at that point, if that makes sense, because it kind of struggled to hold the lower outputs thereafter, simply because it had got too hot. So you've really got chalk and cheese in between these two lights, a little bit like the rabbit and the, well, no, not the rabbit, it's a hare and a tortoise, isn't it? So the LR40 will back off very, very slowly and kind of conserve its heat level to maintain the 6,000 lumens at level 4, whereas the Olight did the opposite. I hope that helps. Which one would you prefer out of the two? I don't know. There we go.